Well, hello, everybody. I hope that you're having a fantastic week. It's funny because I normally have to have my ring light on because I have windows right here, but sometimes the sun doesn't always work out. But I'm so happy I don't have to stare into a ring light today. This is all some natural light coming in. I switched a few things on the back end of this, and it's too big. There we go. That's so much better. It was like really in your face. It was a little too much. So I'm so excited that you're here. Please put in the comments where you're watching from, where you are in the world. And just, I wanted to give you a little bit of behind the scenes, what's actually going to happen. So I've been doing these live recordings of the Poddy Report, which is my daily podcast. You can go to thepoddyreport.com to listen or wherever you listen to podcasts. But I'm actually going to do, we're going to be here. We're going to be here for a long haul because I had a question. Someone asked me the other day, they said, okay, I like that you're recording your daily podcast, but can you show us some behind the scenes on editing? And I got to be honest, I don't edit my daily podcast whatsoever. I record it, I upload it, boom, it's ready to go. So, but what I thought I would do is I'm actually going to record next week's episode of the Profit Podcast. So I saved it just for today to show you. So I'm going to do the Poddy Report episodes, and then I'm going to do the main episode of the Profit Podcast. We're going to be here for a while, folks. So if you have questions, put them in the chat, put them in the comments. I will answer them as we go along in between takes, or if you have a question that you want me to answer on the podcast, drop it in the comments. But if you don't have any other questions, and we're just going to go ahead and get started, I'm going to share my screen. So hang on, let me pull up my Hindenburg. Here we go. So let me know. Oh, I changed my background too. I don't know that I like that. That's kind of distracting. Hang on. Let's go back to no background. There we go. That's not as distracting, right? Like this is too much. I don't know. I mean, it's cute, but I think it's a little distracting. We're just going to turn it where it's a little bit darker. I feel like it's too dark. I need to work on the background. You change little things over time. But for anybody that's just joining, you've never seen this before, I'm doing a live recording of my daily podcast first. And people always ask me, do you script it out? Nope. Here it is. That's literally, I just did this. Here, hang on. Let me go bigger for a second so you can see. This is literally Poddy Report episodes. This is what we're going to talk about. This is like, that's the extent of planning that I do for my daily podcast. The Profit Podcast is a little different, and we'll get to that in a second. But I just wanted to show you, you don't have to script it all out once you feel comfortable and you've been doing this for a while. So if anybody has any questions, put them in the comments. Otherwise, we're just going to get started. So over here, I have to arm it. That's what it's called in Hindenburg. You have to arm it. So it's ready to go. Oh, I was actually going to turn on Instagram too, but that's just one more thing. And I really just like looking at the webcam. It makes it a lot easier. So we'll do that for next time. But okay, so what do you do when your downloads drop? That's what we're going to talk about. This is the question I've been getting a lot lately. So this is what the first thing we're going to talk about. Let me got my drink here. Okay. Are we ready? I know. It's kind of silly like to do the behind the scenes with like the video camera and stuff, but it's been really fun to do this. Okay. So, welcome back to another episode of the Poddy Report. So, today we are going to talk about what are you supposed to do when your episode numbers drop. So, what does that mean? What does that mean, right? That means that maybe your stats have been one thing for a while, and now all of a sudden, it went from getting 500 downloads per episode to now getting 100. Or you used to get 50, now you get 10. What are you supposed to do about that? Like, what does this mean? So, I actually had a student of mine with this question. I had members of the community with this question. And the first thing that I want you to ask yourself is what kind of season is your listener in right now? Obviously, 2020 has been very different for everybody because if you would have told me this last year that your numbers dropped, I would have said, oh, well, it's because the holidays are coming, or oh, it's because of this or that. Well, now there's a lot of other like variables to put into the whole mix of everything. So I know I saw a drop in my download numbers for the Profit podcast whenever school started again in September. And of course, there was a huge plunge in March and April of 2020. Why is that? Well, because everybody was having to adjust to their quote unquote new normal. But now here we are. I'm recording this mid-November 2020. And I feel like there are still some funky things out there in the world that are unpredictable that we can't control or necessarily foresee what's going to go down. For example, the election just happened in the US, and I feel like a lot of people were preoccupied with what's going on. Everyone was very, very absorbed in other forms of media for a while. So if you have a podcast about running or about something lifestyle that isn't as pertinent to what was going on during the election, then maybe your numbers fell off. But don't get discouraged because they're likely to pick back up again whenever your audience starts getting back into the regular flow and rhythm of life. So I want to remind you, like, this is your weekly reminder. We are in this for the long haul. Okay. Like, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And even though I've been doing this for how many episodes? Like, we're several hundred episodes into this podcast already. And I still see those peaks and valleys. Like, we had a great month and then our numbers tanked. And then we had another awesome month. And then everything like went like back down. Like, what's happening? So I want you to just have the mentality of, where are my listeners at in this season of life? Are their kids going back to school? Are they commuting more? Are they not commuting? Are they still trying to figure out like what is actually going on with your listener? We're about to come into the holiday season. And the question of, do I publish episodes around the holidays? Well, this is totally up to you. It's your show, right? This is what I love about podcasting. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's subjective to what's going to work best for you and your audience. But just know that if you don't publish over the holidays, you're going to see your numbers drop, because why would you have your numbers go up if you're not regularly putting out content? That makes sense, right? I hope that makes sense, but don't get discouraged if your numbers drop, if they fall off. I want you to take a look at the content that you're putting out. Is it still relevant to the topic that your podcast is about? What season of life, or what season, not necessarily season of life, but what season is your listener in? And then also consider, did you change something up? In the last few episodes, did you start talking about something that was different and maybe they're like, we don't really want to hear that? The last thing I would suggest to you is ask your audience. This is where an email list, a Facebook group, or engagement on social media really comes into play. Poll your audience, ask them, what do you want to hear more of? Or what did you love in the last few episodes that we've covered? But that's all I have for you today. So consider, why did your episodes drop off? Think about the things that we talked about today, and I hope that you find them helpful. But as always, remember, keep it fresh, keep it fun, and just keep going. Y'all, that was close. That was 4:58. 4:58. 4 minutes and 58 seconds. I got a little nervous that I wasn't going to make it. So I'm going to save this. I save this in my structure here. Oh, and I have a little one calling me. Yes. When numbers drop off. So I heard my son in the background. I have my office door shut. I heard him saying something, but I didn't stop. I was like, maybe he's fine. What do you need, Bob? Okay. Do you need me? Huh? It's very unclear. It's very unclear what he's saying. Oh my gosh. Hi, Nikki. I'm so happy that you're here. Oh my gosh. I live in Los Angeles. I started doing podcasts through Zoom. What would you suggest for video formatting? I sometimes record from 2 places at once, but would it be better if I just upload the Zoom? Video formatting. So I actually, because I see Melanie's here, I'm actually going to pitch this to her because she is more of the video expert. So when you say, would you suggest a formatting video? I sometimes record from 2 places at once, but it would be better if I just upload the Zoom file. So does that mean you're recording locally and you're recording in Zoom? I need a little clarification on that. I sometimes record from 2 places at once. So tell me if that's what you mean. And then I can show you actually what you would do if you were recording a Zoom file or a different like Squadcast or somewhere else and you wanted to upload that as your podcast. Y'all, I hear him screaming. I'm going to go in there 1 second. Yes, Melanie, 2 seconds to spare with that last one. I'll be right back. Hang on. What, bud? Why are you screaming? Where are you? In the bathroom. Oh. Oh my gosh. So I'm back. So Melanie, if you're watching this, she's my all things questions about live video. I need a please stand by video that I can put on there. So when interruptions like that happen, I can just be like, boop, stand by. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming soon. Oh my gosh, that was really funny. He was in the bathroom, if anybody was wondering. So yeah, you can imagine what goes on in there. Okay. So Nikki, let me know, clarify that on your question for video formatting, because I want to know what exactly you're asking. Because if honestly, I would just tell you to go live and record your podcast, like do a live video broadcast, and then use the audio later for your podcast. But I want to make sure that I'm understanding your question correctly. So let me know in the comments. Okay. The next one is, why is editing so hard? And there's a reason why I haven't been doing these at this time of day, because now my son's getting off the bus. But this is life. He'll probably knock on the door in a second and I'll say, hey, what's up, man? Glad you're home from school. So here we go. We're going to go on with another one. Welcome back to another episode of the Poddy Report. So today's question that we are going to answer is, why is editing so hard? Everyone wants to know, why is podcast editing so hard? I feel like it's just one of those things. It takes forever. And I'm just going to give you my 2 cents. Okay. Podcast editing is hard because you're making it hard. It actually isn't that difficult. I believe that you don't have to do a ton of podcast editing in order to have a successful podcast. I think that you can get by with little to no editing on your show. Actually, listen to this podcast. I do zero editing on this show. I will literally, as soon as we are done recording this, hit stop and I will export this to Buzzsprout and it will be the version that you listen to. Y'all, I hear my son knocking on the door. I was just sitting there talking about I don't edit. 1 second. What's going on? Is the door open? Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just recording for the live. Yeah. So recording live. I'm just gonna have to start this one over. Speaking of not editing, okay, done. Oh, did you see? It's done. I'm just gonna have to start over. Okay, we're gonna get through this. I promise. One day we will get through this. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Oh, and for all my fans out there, got on my Central Perk shirt. I'm ready for it. Here for it today. Okay, take 2. Let's do this again. Welcome back to another episode of the Poddy Report. So today we are answering the question, why is editing so hard? And I really just want to crack up because I'm recording this live. So if you haven't been catching the live recordings of the Poddy Report, I'm doing these on my YouTube channel, on the Facebook group, and I just started recording this thing, and here my son just got off the bus and he couldn't get the front door to open for whatever reason. It was not opening for him. And I was talking about editing a podcast. And I said, oh, I don't edit the Poddy Report podcast. And then I had to stop because he's knocking on the door. And I'm like, why can he not get in the house? So I had to go open the door. It was like the lock was messed up. And instead of coming back and trying to remember my train of thought, I just said, oh, we don't edit this podcast. So I literally just clicked delete, deleted the whole thing. And here we are. You're listening to take 2 of this podcast. Now, why am I sharing this here with you today? I'm sharing this because editing is so hard because we make it hard. We overthink the process. We listen to someone else's podcast who's been doing it for a really long time and they're incredible at it. And we think, well, they sound amazing. Why don't I sound like that? Well, you're not going to sound like that whenever you first get started. I didn't sound like I was not able to just hit record and talk for 20 or 30 minutes straight without messing up overnight. No. I had so many mistakes. So many times whenever I would have to hit pause, I'd have to hit stop, I'd have to cut and delete and do all kinds of things whenever I was first getting started. See, whenever I was getting started, I would have just deleted everything that I just said because I was hypercritical of my own recordings. So when people say editing is so hard, it takes me so long, it does this, it does that, I have to encourage you to remove the perfectionism lens that you're looking at your podcast. The way that you're looking at it is why editing is so hard. Like I have this one portion in my book, Start a Binge-Worthy Podcast, and I love it. Like it was one of those like, aha, like, ooh, I can't believe I wrote that. That's so good. And it's a subtitle that says, over editing is the silent killer. It is the silent killer of podcasts because it is so hard for you to edit out those those breath sounds every time you say the word like or okay, or you do something, you're like, oh, I don't like the way that sounded. You're making this hard. It does not have to be that hard to edit your podcast. You don't even have to do any editing if you don't want to. Like I said, I do not edit this podcast. I made a mistake a second ago and I literally did I didn't even have to do a control A because there wasn't that many, but you could do like a select all and delete the whole thing. But that's the beauty of having a podcast like this that's 5 minutes or less. I know that if I mess up, I can just start over. Even with the Profit Podcast, whenever I mess up, I give myself a long break. And then I know, okay, I messed up. I need a pause for a long time. And then I can cut, like I can find my mistakes very easily and I will cut them out and say, okay, like I'm ready to go. Like I know where I screwed up. I can go in, fix it. It takes like 5 minutes to edit a 30-minute episode. That is how long it takes me to edit, 5 minutes. And I know I've been doing this for a long time. It shouldn't take me very long. But I want to remind you to look at your podcast through the filter of it's never going to be perfect. So why are we trying to make them perfect? Do not over edit your podcast. Editing your podcast does not have to be hard because if you don't want to do it, you don't even have to do it at all. Okay? I hope I just gave you a gift. If you don't want to edit your podcast, you don't have to at all. Now, the quality of it may not be stellar. It may not be a chart-topping podcast, but it doesn't have to be that difficult. You will get better over time. What I want you to do is keep practicing and keep getting better, keep being consistent, and keep showing up every single week for your audience. But that does it for this episode. So remember, keep it fresh, keep it fun, and just keep going. Ooh, y'all, I keep coming in like right at the end. Okay, so I want to show y'all something. I had to do this the other day. Now, it's being all wonky because I'm live and I'm recording this, and I've talked about this before that my gain, I can't really control it all the way in Hindenburg. But do you see over here where it like peaked out? So if we go back and listen to this, because I've had people ask me about editing. So I don't typically edit this podcast, but I am going to show you this. What I can do is I can grab it and drag it down to where I want it to be. Honestly, I have magic mastering on Buzzsprout, so I know that it's going to be fine either way. But if I were to edit this, because I know Arian's here. Hey, Arian, so happy that you're here. And you were asking about some editing tutorials. So if I was to edit this one, what you could do is you zoom in, use your zoom in tool. And then if you have Audacity, it would be kind of the same. And in Hindenburg, you could split this right here and make it a separate track and just lower this portion right here to where it's not going in the red, if that makes sense. If you have questions about this, let me know. But because I'm going to stay true to my word, I'm not going to edit this one. When we get into the Profit Podcast episode, I'll show you what I'm talking about, but I'm not even worried about this. It's not going to sound bad because I have magic mastering. So I know that makes you sound fancy, but it's true. I have magic mastering. It's going to sound a lot better. So why is editing so hard? Boom, done. 2 down. All right. So for planning this content today, I just went in and I looked at my most popular episodes for the Poddy Report and the Profit Podcast, and I looked at topics that I haven't talked about in a while. And the one that I'm going to talk about next is explicit content. So if you've ever wondered about explicit content, well, you're about to get my opinion on it. Got a little drink. Okay, I'm going to see if I can turn it down. I don't think it's going to let me. All right, here we go. Yeah, it automatically jumps up. So funky. I wish I could get it. Let me see. I'm going to start messing with things on the back end. It's going to totally mess everything up. Automatically adjust mic volume. Oh. Disable this option to manually adjust your mic with a volume slider. I don't want to mess it up because I'm going to break something. I don't want to break something while we're here live. It'll be fine. It'll be good. Welcome back to another episode of the Poddy Report. Hang on. Okay, so like I said, I messed up. So because I zoomed in a second ago, I'm still zoomed in, and I like to be where I can see the 5-minute marker over here. So let's go back again. Let's do this. Okay. Welcome back to another episode of the Poddy Report. So today we're talking about the 4-letter words, aka explicit content. So I have done a podcast episode on the Profit Podcast, all about explicit content, what it is, what exactly qualifies as explicit content. And it's funny because if you look it up on like Apple Podcast and a lot of the other players, there aren't really like guidelines or rules that state this is what qualifies as explicit content. But on Spotify, there are like this is what explicit content is for music, but it doesn't relate to podcast. It's for music. So what I did is, if you want to go look at this, you can check out the explicit content episode that I did. But I linked to what it says on Spotify, and basically, it's like, if it's something that is offensive or anything else like that. My rule of thumb is if you would say it in front of your grandma and get embarrassed or feel like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that in front of her, then you need to mark it explicit. That's really how I feel about it. I don't think words like hell or damn or even ass are considered like explicit. Like they may be bad words, but I don't consider that explicit. I consider more of like the harsh 4-letter words, or if you're giving like a graphic description of something, again, that you wouldn't want to explain in front of your grandma, then yeah, that probably needs to be explicit content. The other way to get around, like if you don't want to mark something explicit, is if you want to do like the whole beep, like where you bleep something out. And there's some tools that you can do this. You can get like, there's tools in Hindenburg that allow you to mute sections of audio. So you can like literally like cut out what someone says. Like if someone comes onto your show and they say cuss words that you weren't expecting, then you can actually mute that part of the audio, or you could download a sound effect that's like a bleep sound. So people know like, oh wait, like what happened? They just kind of stopped talking for a second. Like, was that a mistake? What happened? So you could actually do like a bleep sound, but that's just a lot of work. I'm just going to be honest with you. I would just recommend to you click explicit content. Now, I've had people say, well, if I mark things explicit, does that hurt my chances for getting sponsors? And I'm like, have you ever heard of Joe Rogan? Do you know who he is? Did you listen to Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, which is one of my favorite podcasts, by the way? I love the guests that he has on there. But I mean, those guys, they cuss like sailors. Like, and it's so bad. And they still have some of the top rated podcasts and are making millions of dollars in sponsorship deals every single year. So explicit content will not hurt your ability to find brand deals or sponsors. It may just attract a different type of sponsor. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on explicit content. If you have any other questions, make sure you reach out in our free Facebook group, the Profit Podcast online community. You can find us there. And I would love for you to continue this conversation because I think it's really interesting and I want to hear your perspective on it. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, keep it fresh, keep it fun, and just keep going. So I have to make sure it like goes for another second at least, so I don't cut myself off because I did that. I did that last week. So let's talk. There was another bus too, and I'm like, these other buses, middle school kids getting off the buses. So the bus stop is literally right in front of my house. Another thing is, I couldn't do this earlier, or I'm glad. No, let me see. The lawn guys, like in the neighborhood, they'll do like 4 or 5 houses right here on our street. They normally come this time of day, and I kind of just took a chance, like, oh, maybe they won't come today. They did come earlier today, so I lucked out that we're not having to deal with that in the background because that's always fun. Okay, explicit content. Now, we're going to talk about podcast trends, and then I'm going to talk about some of Buzzsprout's free tools that I love to play around with. But if you have any questions, post them in the comments. We will get to those. All right, podcast trends. We are going to talk about that. Give me a little sippy sip of my drink. Okay. Welcome back to another episode of the Poddy Report. So, today we are going to talk about podcast trends. There are so many different ways that I can go with podcast trends. So, first of all, I want to start with my predictions for what's really going to be popular going into 2021 and beyond. And I think it's going to be more video podcasts. And by that, I mean people live streaming their shows for other people to interact with them. I actually started listening to, I love the Foot Traffic podcast by Stacey Tuschel. And she even says, like, while she's recording, she's like, oh, we're live in our free podcast group. So if you want to join, like, go in there. And that's where we're recording these. And I think it's really cool because what she's done is she's recording it, she's sharing it on her podcast, but then she's also saying if you want to get exclusive content, you have to join the Facebook group. So very smart on her part because she really wants you to get inside her Facebook group so she can interact with you and learn more about you. But I think this is super smart. I think that this is going to continue to gain popularity because people love a good behind the scenes. I'm actually live streaming this now in 3 different places. Like while I'm recording this, I'm live on my Facebook page, in my Facebook group, and on YouTube. And the reason why is because I want to give my listeners a behind the scenes feel for what it looks like whenever I'm recording. I'm not set up in some crazy fancy studio. I don't have like my hair, my makeup done like to a T. I'm wearing, actually, I will say, I do have on a very fancy shirt today. I have on my Central Perk Friends t-shirt and I'm feeling good about it. Okay. Like that's as fancy as we're getting around here. I have on denim shorts, which is, this is basically my uniform that I wear every day. I have one pair of denim Target shorts that I wear almost every single day, a comfortable t-shirt. And yeah, that's my uniform. That's my requirements for my podcasting. Now, if you're saying, Crystal, I could never imagine doing a podcast live, then I want to encourage you to just think about doing more live video that promotes your podcast. I think that that's just going to continue to gain in popularity where people are wanting to see behind the scenes. They're wanting to see, well, how do you actually do that? Like the podcasting process. Are you planning? Are you, doing this in a notebook, in a Google Doc? So that's one of the trends that I see really just keeping up with the traction. Another one is there's a lot of microphone companies that are really trying to make podcast equipment more affordable. I've seen so many versions of like microphones I wish would have been around whenever I first started because they are very intuitive. They are plug and play, meaning they come with a USB cord and you can put them straight into your computer. You don't need a mixer. You don't need anything else to be successful with this microphone equipment, this podcast equipment, but it's also very affordable. So I think that podcasting companies, or I guess microphone companies, are starting to produce podcast equipment that is affordable, very easy to use because they know that it's just gaining popularity. So I see that is going to be something that continues is the prices of podcast equipment is going to drop. But I also see people like companies starting to bundle packages more like, hey, you can get this microphone, boom arm, headphones, all the things that you need for this one maybe price. So I think that's going to continue. My favorite microphone that I'm using right now is the Rode, Rode Procaster. I do have a shock mount with it and I have a boom arm. I love my setup. I love it. I had a Blue Yeti for a while. It wasn't really working for my office. I love my Procaster. I love it, love it, love it. So if you started off with one microphone and you're looking to upgrade, it's the one that I'm recommending right now. It's super cool. I love it. I like the design and the look of it, but there's also really affordable ones that you can get on Amazon that I will tell you all about if you ask me. So reach out to me and let me know. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, keep it fresh, keep it fun, and just keep going. Ooh, 458. Y'all, that was a close one. That was another close one. I don't feel like I covered enough podcasting trends, so I'll have to do another one. I'll have to circle back around on that one and do another podcasting trends part 2. Buzzsprout's free tools. Okay, this has been more of what my YouTube channel has been about lately, is sharing some more of the, like, y'all, my chair so squeaky. There we go. Like, try not to squeak, like try not to move around. I thought about standing up, but I knew we'd be here for like an hour, so I didn't want to stand up for an hour and do this. Okay. Anybody has any questions, put them in the comments. This is the last one for the Poddy report. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Poddy report. Today we are talking about Buzzsprout's free tools. So if you've listened to this podcast or any of my content for any amount of time, you're probably going to recognize that I usually recommend Buzzsprout. It's actually the only hosting provider that I recommend because it's the tried and true service that I've used from the very beginning. And one of the things that I really appreciate about the Buzzsprout team is they are constantly looking for opportunities to make podcasting more enjoyable, more fun, and easier for us. I mean, like this is like the number one reason why I'm like, they're my go-to people that I reach out to about all things podcasting. But they've been doing some really cool behind the scene things with their tools. And one of the things that I appreciate, if you aren't subscribed, make sure you go to my YouTube channel and check it out, because I've been putting out more videos on how to use some of the back-end tools for Buzzsprout. One of the ones that I did a YouTube video on last week was all about how they are trying to compete with the other platforms that are doing like individual sound bites and audiograms. I'm thinking of Wave and Headliner. Buzzsprout just keeps improving and improving on their visual sound bites. Now, I've used their visual sound bites off and on since I've been podcasting, but I was using Headliner for a really long time because I could use my custom artwork. I didn't always like having my same logo always on my Instagram feed or sharing that on my Facebook page over and over and over again, because I got sick of looking at my logo every single time. There wasn't really a way to differentiate my logo between episode and episode. But recently they made an update to where now you can upload a piece of custom artwork. And I've been playing around with this, and I recently did a photo shoot. If you remember those, a few episodes back, I talked about doing a photo shoot, what that entailed, and I got some of my pictures back, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to share with you like all the pictures, because Kelly and I, the photographer that I worked with, we had so much fun, and the pictures just turned out that they're so awesome. So I'm going to be sharing those, like switching those pictures out. I'm going to be using pictures that are with my guest. Whenever I have a guest interview, I'm going to switch those out. And I'm really playing around with the soundbite tool within Buzzsprout. So how do you get to this? How does this work? Like I said, there's YouTube videos on my channel on how to do it. But in a nutshell, you really have to follow the Buzzsprout requirements for the pictures to the T. Like you can't have something, if it says the requirement is a 1080 by 1080 pixel and it's under 1 megabyte, you can't have something that's over that. Otherwise they can't accept it. Like there's a reason why they have those parameters set in place, like those custom dimensions. You have to have it in order for it to work and to not have the image look pixelated and blurry and not look really well. So that's one thing that I really love about it. But two is you can go in and change it from episode to episode, so it doesn't feel like it's the same picture over and over and over again. But I would recommend you work on a consistent branding theme. So if it's going to be a picture of you, then switch it up from time to time on what picture it is of you, but don't go like just grab a whole bunch of stock images and use those as your artwork that you're uploading to Buzzsprout if it's not on brand. Every single image, like marketing 101, right? You're trying to create a branding message. And if you just use a bunch of random stock images, that's not going to help your brand be consistent from week to week, from episode to episode. And that is what you are trying to do. You are trying to be consistent. You are trying to make sure that people recognize you and immediately say, oh, they have a new podcast out, or, oh, that reminds me, I haven't listened to that show this week. So that's my 2 cents. I want you to go check out Buzzsprout's free visual soundbite tool. This is in your episode section. So go into an episode that you have with Buzzsprout and you will see create visual soundbite on the right-hand side. And I would love for you to share it and tag me in it. Tell me, like, I tried this out and I love it and it looks really cool. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, keep it fresh, keep it fun, and just keep going. Under 5 minutes. Y'all, I have like point 0.06 seconds to spare. Ooh, that felt like a challenge. I was about to start sweating. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so close. It's so close to 5 minutes. It's so close. But I got to do it. Like this is like a creative challenge for me. Oh my gosh, that's really funny. Okay. So that is the Poddy report. Now, we're going to get into the Profit Podcast. This is a little different. If I mess up, if I have something, I may change it, but this is going to be a shorter episode just because of what I'm talking about. So let me mark this off. Okay, so these are my Poddy report notes. I'm going to put them to the side so don't get confused. That is very important to not confuse yourself while you're talking. But let me see what it looks like whenever I do it like this. I don't like the way that looks. I'll do it like that. Okay. So turn that off. All right. Let me know if there's any questions that y'all have, but I am going to, what I'll do with this one, I'm going to go ahead and save it first. There's a reason. I'm going to show you why. So with these, I know what the episode is. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually, let me make sure. So this is the back end. Y'all are just seeing everything today. There's my content calendar. So these are the ones I've already published. This is what I'm planning for December, but I always make sure that I have the correct title and the correct episode number before I start recording to make sure, like, wait, this is what I thought it was. Let me make, because I have said the wrong episode number before, and I'll have to go back and fix that. So for this podcast, if I mess up, I will make changes, but usually they're pretty subtle. They're not big changes. But we are talking about a business planning retreat. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to import my self-sponsored ad that I've been sharing. I've been sharing all about a new program that I have coming up. And this is the back end of what it looks like in my podcast folders. So I'll go into ads. And I have my self-sponsored ads, and it's right here. So my new program waitlist. So that's imported. That's there. And then this is the reason why I saved it earlier. I just do a Control S. Anytime I change something new, I'll do a Control S. Now I'm going to do my hook for what I'm going to say at the very beginning of the show. So this is kind of like the gentle introduction of this episode. So here we go. Okay, so did you ever have a time where you're like, I just need to get away? Like, I just need a long weekend. I just need a vacation to just recharge. I said that really weird. Recharge and re-energize myself. That is exactly what I did this last weekend. It was so much fun. My mom and I actually went away for the weekend with the sole purpose of planning out our 2021 goals. And I got to tell you, we actually did more than that. We did some 10-year planning. We did some 3-year planning. We did some 1-year planning. We know what we're going to do for the next quarter. And we just did so many things in this weekend. And it was really cool because her and I don't get to do that a lot. So it was a very fun bonding experience. But also, she lives in like North Texas in the Fort Worth area, and I live in the Houston area. So when we were talking about doing this back in September, I told her, I was like, we're going to have a weekend getaway sometime in Q4. When are we going to do this? What does this look like? And we looked at, okay, well, where is our middle ground? Where is somewhere that we can meet where I don't have to drive 4.5 hours to her house? She doesn't have to drive 4.5 hours to my house. And we landed on the map, and it was Waco. Waco, Texas is right in the middle for both of us. So we decided to have a girls' retreat and go to Magnolia, because who doesn't love Joanna Gaines and all the amazing things that she does? So I reserved a VRBO for us, and we went with the intention of setting our goals, setting intentions for 2021 and what that was going to look like. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right to it. Okay, so that is my hook introduction. And I typically don't do a lot of editing right now, but I can see right here. So I don't always edit by listening to my podcast. I really edit by looking at it, because I've done this for so long. I can see where, like, oh, there's a little tick up that you probably hear me clicking my mouse. I know to go ahead and go to the very front and delete that. Okay, then I do a Control S, saving this, and then I will go in and I will add in my music. And I didn't always used to do things like this. I would always record the whole thing and then kind of piece everything together. Oh, that's not it. My podcast main theme. That's what I meant. So here's my main theme. And I put my main theme on the second row underneath, because I like for it to fade in. So it's almost like it goes from here to there. I want to listen to the last part of that. So let's get right to it. And I want those to flow very seamlessly in together. So Control S, that's good. And then over here, what I'll do is I'll start recording. I'm on the top track. I'll start recording there, but then whenever I'm done, I'll move it over, because I actually want it to be like right here to where this music fades in. I'll show you what this looks like. But we're going to keep on keeping on recording. Okay, so like I said in the beginning, I am going to talk to you all about the business planning retreat that my mom and I had last weekend. So as of me recording this, it was last weekend. Technically, when you're hearing this, it's like 2 weekends ago, but you get, like, it wasn't that long ago. Okay, that's really the important thing here, is it wasn't that long ago. My mom and I went off for a girls' weekend getaway. It was so awesome. I left early on a Friday, and my dad took the day off, and him and my mom went to Waco, and they kind of walked around. They were going to go to Magnolia. It was pretty busy by the time they got there. So they met me at our little cottage cabin that we rented. And then my dad actually took off to come to my house, and they had a boys' weekend, because I have 3 boys and my husband. So he came down here. They went to the beach in Galveston. They went fishing. They had just a grand old boys' time, while my mom and I had a quiet retreat in this little cottage on the Brazos River. It was so perfect. And we knew that we couldn't go to Waco without going to Magnolia, and we hadn't been in like 2 years. So we decided to go get coffee at Magnolia Press and go look around. And so much has changed since the last time we were there. But we said, okay, we got to do it on Friday, because Saturday we're going to wake up and hit the ground running. We knew that we wanted to utilize all the time that we had together to really focus on the goals that we wanted to accomplish. So first and foremost, I want to tell you, because we're going to keep this super high level. Like, I'm not going to get into all of my goals and dreams for the next 10 years, but I did want to tell you that we took the book Traction. So if you've never heard of it, Traction by Gino Wickman. I had heard from this or heard about this book from Amy Porterfield. She's talked about traction and rocket fuel before. And I bought Traction earlier this year with the intention of, okay, I'm just going to read it. Y'all, this is not oh, this is a cutesy book. Let's read it. And that's it. No, 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 no. This is I'm going to buy this book and I'm going to take action, because if you are an entrepreneur, you need this book. If you are, because I went to business school. Okay. I went to business school, and my husband went to business school. Like, he got his MBA, and like we learned all of these things very high level. But if you're like me and it's been 10 plus years since you were in college, then maybe you haven't revisited some of the things that are very crucial to the foundation of your business. And I needed to be reminded of some of the things that we often overlook as kind of like fluffy ideas, but we really need to pay attention to as business owners or people that are aspiring to have a business with our podcast. So I'm going to tell you again, Traction by Gino Wickman. It's going to be in the show notes, crystalprofit.com/episode 205. That's where you're going to find this. And I just want to kind of walk through like a high level of what it is that this book is all about. So it's really for entrepreneurs. It's not for a traditional business model, because there are certain things that you have to do as the CEO, the COO, the founder of your business that doesn't just happen for you. Like, if you work for a business, like for example, I used to be in corporate, and there were certain foundational pieces that were laid probably decades before I was there, my bosses were there, or anybody else. Like, you had to have this vision for what this company was going to be. But you, as the entrepreneur, the founder of your company, you're the one that has to come up with this information, to come up with the vision for where you see your business going. So they have what's called, and I'm gonna get the name wrong. So they have, and this is their trademark name, and I love it so much. So it's the Vision Traction Organizer. You've got to go get this book, because this graph alone is like, it's golden. Oh, it's so golden. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I've thought about these things and I inherently know them about my business, but it was really important for me to write them down, to get them out of my head. And another thing I didn't tell you. So mom and I, we went off. We knew that we were going to go on this girls retreat, like business retreat. I went to Office Depot and I ordered the post-it, like the big post-it notes that you like put on the wall and you can rip off. I don't remember what they're called. It's actually right over in the corner. I'm like, I should go grab it. And we couldn't figure out what they were called, but I finally found it. But it's like the ones that you would put up on an easel and you can rip it off and go stick it on the wall. These are fantastic. And this is what we used all weekend. So every time we were like, okay, we need to decide on, for example, our core values. What are the core values going to be of our business? So we would write on the top of one of these papers, core values. And then we would start brainstorming, or we would start just writing things down. And once we were done, we would go stick it on the wall. And like the cottage didn't really have like two rooms per se, like that were separated by a door, but I like took over a room. She took over another room, and we just had these papers all over the wall. It was so fun. And maybe this is just her and I are super nerdy, but we loved it so much because we could see, like, at the end of the day, we started at like 6 a.m. Maybe it was like 6:30 that morning. And we went until about 8 o'clock that night, like balls to the wall, going the entire time to figure out all of these really important pieces of our business. So one of the things that we figured out was our core values. And I'm not going to share everything with you just because you're probably not going to be as like excited about all this as I am. But I did want to share a few of the things that we figured out from our 10-year plan for Profit Media. So my business is Profit Media, and I am going to share with you my core values because I think that they're so fun. So one of ours is we don't just walk towards fun, we chase it. Like I thought this was good. Like I was like patting myself on the back. I'm like, that's a good one. Like we always got to have fun. And it's not just about like, oh, I kind of want to have fun. It's like, no. We chase fun down. We hunt it like a rabid wolf because if you are not having fun, it is not worth it to be doing all the things that you're doing. The next one is authenticity is our top priority. Our next one is empathy, grace, and compassion are how we strive to hold space for everyone. We don't hide problems. We face them and walk through them together. Now, this is a really big one as I am, still in the beginning of building my business. And I want to make sure that the people and the contractors that I work with and people that I onboard onto my team understand from the very beginning, like we don't hide problems. We don't sweep things under the rug and pretend that they're not there. We face them and we walk through them together because that's how we get over, like that's how we go from a problem to a solution is actually facing them and walking through them together. Another one that we have is we commit to always learning how we can become better leaders. This is really a core value for me, but it's also the type of people that I want to attract to my company. I want people that are listening to podcasts and they're reading business books and they are just genuinely curious about how they can be a better individual in life, like not just a business leader, but a leader in their family, in their community, and making a difference and not just kind of floating through a mediocre life. Like they want to accomplish something and they're very driven. Consistency is the key to total domination. This one was one that I thought of, and I wanted to say to total world domination, but that made me sound a little crazy. So I felt like Dr. Evil, like petting. What is the cat's name? Oh my gosh, this is going to drive me insane. I'm imagining Mike Myers, Dr. Evil, Austin Powers version, right? And he's like just petting the cats, like total world domination, $1 million. Oh my gosh. Okay. I just went down a weird rabbit tangent hole. Whatever is a rabbit tangent hole. I'm just making stuff up at this point, y'all. But consistency is the key to total domination. And then value, service, and gratitude make up our North Star. So these are some of the things that we have established as a company as our core values. And again, I say this and I share this with you to let you know I don't have a whole team of people behind me. I don't have like 15 people that I have to go back and be like, oh, we came up with our core values. Here they are. Let me share them with you now. It's more about these are the type of people that I want to attract that have these same types of values or that agree. Oh yeah, I like the sound of this company, or I like the way that they operate. I like the things that they focus on because I think that that's more important than just saying, "Oh, we like to have fun." Yeah, sure, we like to have fun. Yeah, we like to be authentic from time to time. No, like these are our guiding principles and our core values. So that was the first thing that we had to establish. Then we had to talk about our core focus. What are you focused on? What is your purpose? What is your niche? What is your passion? Why are you even doing this? And again, I want you to go grab this book, Traction by Gino Wickman. It is so helpful. And I'm going to recommend that you get the Kindle version or a hard copy. I'm a fan of the hard copy simply because you can look at it easier. I'm just more of I like tangible books or audiobooks, but I don't recommend an audiobook for this simply because it's so tactical and hands-on. I tried to listen to Rocket Fuel, their other book, And it was too hard for me because I would like listen to something and I want to stop and like go take notes right then. And that's a lot harder to do with an audiobook. So I would recommend getting the hard copy of this book. Go ahead and get Traction and Rocket Fuel at the same time. Like these could be, add them to your wish list for Christmas and say, this is what I want you to buy me, honey. Thanks so much. These are going to help me, get more focused on my business, on my podcast. But the core focus is really for us, for Profit Media, is we help entrepreneurs confidently share their message. So do you notice I didn't say we help entrepreneurs confidently with their podcast? Because my business, Profit Media, is more than just about podcasting, even though that's our main focus here. Like you are here to learn about podcasting, what it's all about, and everything. But at the core of that, you want to share your message. So that's really what I want to hone in on going into 2021 and beyond is helping people share their message, because a message is so much deeper than just a single podcast episode. A message is your whole podcast. A message is how you communicate with your audience in your emails, how you communicate with your audience on social media, through other marketing channels. So I really didn't want to kind of box myself into only talking about podcasting 24/7, although y'all know, like, that is my passion, that is my jam. But I also want to look at the bigger scale, like kind of zoom out with a bird's eye view on how I can help people with their message. So that is our core focus at Profit Media, is to help people with their message. Now, what is our niche, right? Like what is the specific thing that I help people with is I help take the overwhelm out of podcasting. I do feel like that is my specialty. That is my like secret sauce, is to take the overwhelm out of it and give you a step-by-step plan, a step-by-step strategy that you can follow that makes it easier. Because at the end of the day, yes, you could go Google everything that you've learned here on this podcast. You could go Google it and learn from 50 other people, but that doesn't mean you're going to be less overwhelmed. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be more confident after you watch 7 different YouTube videos from 7 different people and say, wait, this person was contradicting that one. This one says to do it this way. This one says to do it that way. And this one, interestingly enough, said to do it a totally different way. I want to take the overwhelm out of podcasting, where you don't have to think about it in terms of there's only one way to do it. Because there's not. Like at the end of the day, there's not just one way to podcast. You will go find someone else and they will tell you probably everything that contradicts everything I've shared with you here today, or ever on this podcast, or on my YouTube channel, or in my email list. They will say, no, we don't agree with what she says. But at the end of the day, my number one goal, my number one focus, my underlying everything of all the content that I put out is to take the overwhelm out of podcasting. That is my core focus. That is my purpose. It's my mission. It's my life. And I want to help entrepreneurs with their message. Now, there's a lot more information, like I said, going into your 10-year goal, your marketing strategy. Let me see. There's a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan. You get to figure out your quarterly rocks. And then you talk about issues that would probably come up. I'm not joking whenever I say we did this for a solid 12 to 14 hours straight. We did it. It took a long time. And I guess if you were doing this by yourself, maybe it wouldn't take so long, because we were kind of like pitching and catching. She would tell me an idea for her business. I'd tell her an idea for mine. So, there was a lot of in-betweens of ideas and brainstorming and things like that. But I think that it was so valuable to do it with someone else that understands my business and understands what I'm trying to accomplish, like long term, not just today, not tomorrow, not in the next year, but long term. What am I trying to accomplish? And so, again, I'm just going to encourage you, go grab this book, Traction by Gino Wickman, and do every step of the process. So there are different paragraphs that tell you, okay, here's some examples of, they work with a lot of clients, and it'll say in there, well, our clients, and they'll give like 5 examples. These clients' core values are blah, blah, blah. And they'll give you all these examples. And then their core focus is this. And their 10-year target looks something like this. So they walk you through every step of the process, which is why the book is so important. And like, I can't just give you like, oh, here's the framework, go do it. Because we had to read, like we were literally reading this book. I have like note cards and Post-it notes all shoved into this book because we were reading it as we were going along. But January is coming up. Like January is right around the corner. And I don't want you to start thinking about your goals January 1. I don't like, it's too late. If you're thinking and planning your goals on January 1, then you're already behind. And I'm the type of person that I never like to be late. Like if you show up on time, then you're late. I am in the school of thought of I need to be 10 to 15 minutes early everywhere I go, because that means I'm on time. And if I show up, I'm supposed to be there at 1:00 and I'm there at 1:00, I'm late. This is just the way my mind works. It's the way my mind has always worked. And my husband, it's like a catch-22 for him. Because I feel like so many women get like a bad rap for being late. And he's like, you're always on time, but you're always a real pain in the butt, like trying to get everybody out of the house to be on time. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. But when it comes to planning, especially in your business, I think that we should all start sooner rather than later. And if you're in the first 1 to 3 years of your business and you're like, I don't need to do that. I need to do that whenever I'm more successful, whenever I'm making more money, whenever I'm making any money, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm telling you this right now. I wish I would have done this 2 years ago whenever I was first trying to figure out my business. Whenever I was first trying to figure out, what do I need to do? What do I need to focus on? A lot of it feels like fluffy stuff, right? Everything I share with you, my core values, all that feels like you don't really need that to make money. It's true. You don't. You don't need to have a mission statement in order to throw something up for sale and actually make money. But at the end of the day, what will keep you from burning out is attracting the right customers, attracting the right people to work with you, attracting the right sponsors, attracting the right everybody to work with you. And you can't do that if you don't have your core values, you don't have your core focus, you don't know who you're targeting or what your specialty is. And this is why I believe that this is so important. So here's my challenge to you. I knew that I wanted to have like an action item. Like after this episode was over, I want you to join us, if you are not already, in our free Facebook group. We have the Profit Podcast online community. You can find it in the show notes, crystalprofit.com/episode 205. You're going to find a link to join us in the Facebook group. I want you to go into the Facebook group and say, hey, Crystal told me to tell you what my passion and my niche are. That's what I want you to do. I don't want you to go in and say, oh my gosh, I have to go buy this book and read it and do all the things. No. I do want you to do that. But my challenge for you is to join us in the Facebook group and say, my podcast purpose is, my niche is. Because they are two very different things. Remember, I'm going to share with you again. My purpose, my passion, my cause for my business is to help entrepreneurs share their message. That is my purpose. My niche is take the overwhelm out of podcasting. That is my purpose. And so all of my content, anything that I put out online, the underlying thread between everything is to help take the overwhelm out of podcasting. So join us in the free Facebook group. I want you to share your passion and your niche, and I cannot wait to see what you have to say. I'm so excited about this. So again, I'm going to say it again. Traction by Gino Wickman. Go grab it. I haven't even finished it, y'all. I haven't finished the book. I only finished this huge, big like chunk of it that's really helped me. I have it in a Google Doc. I have my goals. I have my things that I'm planning for all of 2021. And I feel like it's November and I'm already excited to hit the ground running in January to work towards these goals and make really big things happen in 2021. And I want the same for you. But like I said, if you're waiting until January to start planning, you're already going to be behind. So it's why we're having this conversation today. And it's why I hope that you're excited for what's to come in 2021 because we have a lot of really big things planned. But that's all I have for you today. So if you have not already joined our wait list, you need to get on it. We are doing some really cool things behind the scenes with my course, Profit Podcasting, and the membership, the Poddy people. We're almost there. We're almost there in being able to unveil all the cool things that we're working on. But I am really just, it's going to be so good. Oh, it's going to be so good. And I know that you're going to be excited about it. I know I've shared a few teasers, but we're going to have some podcast auditing where I can get my eyes on your podcast and some other fun hot seats and group coaching and tech libraries and I'm really excited. So go to crystalprofit.com/waitlist to get on the wait list, or you can go to the show notes, crystalprofit.com/episode 205 to check out all the things that we talked about today. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Oh no. I was like, what is it doing? It better have stopped. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, I did not talk for 27 minutes straight. Okay. I talked for about 23 minutes straight, not 27. So in looking at this, I can tell right there, I need to cut that out. This is probably going to sound okay. Yeah, and I know where the audio is on the music, so I can kind of see where I need to have it. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Okay, I don't like for it to be right there. I like it to be more right here. So I like to have like a subtle music entry, not like really abrupt. So I like that sound. I didn't have any big mistakes in this episode, so I'm literally not going to edit anything. And I know I messed up. I did mess up. I didn't say I didn't have any mistakes. I didn't have any big mistakes. So I'm not going to edit anything out. Not going to happen. So let me see. There was a comment that I missed. Oh, hey, there's Mom. She, I was talking about her. Hey, she's there. She's gone now though. I don't see anybody watching right now. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import some music and 15-second master. So one of the last things I'll do is I take my music down to 20 decibels, and I've done this forever. Oh, I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I have people say, why 20? It's just the magic number I landed on a long time ago. And I'll drag this in Hindenburg. Here, actually, I'm going to turn that off so it's not so distracting. So I will drag it down like that. And that is how I get the music to subtly come in. So I'll go here. And I know that I want this peak to be right around the end of the audio track. So let's play that. Where you can go to the show notes, crystalprofit.com/episode 205 to check out all the things that we talked about today. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Oh, that was perfect. Oh, that was so good. Like right there at the end. Like that was luck. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That was luck. I couldn't have done that. It usually takes like a few shots for me to get this part right here on the music, but no, that was good. All right, so this is roughly about 27 minutes. I'm good with that length for the episode. I'm gonna come over here. So we have our self-sponsored ad, and then we have our hook, our intro. Then we have the podcast main theme, which I'll put on the next, I'll step it down one. And then the only other thing that I want to see is right here. I'm pretty sure this is fine. Let me double check. Okay, so like I said in the beginning. And do you notice that I don't have my headphones in? Did you notice that? Well, what are you doing? He has a slap bracelet on his face. Okay. He looks like who's the X-Men that has the Cyclops? That's what he looks like. He has a slap bracelet on his face and it's red. All right. So I already know that this is good. We listen to this. This is good. The music's there. That's lined up correctly. All this is good. I didn't have any big mistakes. The only other thing that I will check from time to time is to see how loud some of these. And I am going to share with you my. So what's cool, this is a little behind the scene tip. This will actually all sound really good once it goes through Magic Mastering. I know. I feel like that's cheating, but these are my behind the scenes secrets. I don't even worry about those because they will be brought to the peak volume and they won't sound bad when it goes through Magic Mastering. So yeah, there's my secret. So let me do one more time. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Oh, it's perfect. It's not really perfect, but it's perfect to my standards. And okay, so you see, I finished this. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm going to hit out. I literally finished this and we're done. Do you know how long it took me to edit that? About 5 minutes. Not even. 27-minute episode. 5 minutes or so. Then I'll go from here and I will export this. So 205. And we're done. We're done. Like I said, it took me less than 5 minutes to do a 27-minute episode. And I'm done. Like, y'all, my throat. So I recorded for almost an hour. I did all the Poddy Report episodes. I did the Profit Podcast episode. If you're just tuning in or you're watching on the replay, then go back to like the last, I would say 15, 20 minutes, and you'll see me like finishing up the episode and editing it. If you want to see more of these, let me know. I liked doing it live. That was fun. Except for the interruptions. The children's were here interrupting when we first got started. Actually, my last son, he's not my last son, he's my middle son, but the last one to get off the school bus, he is actually going to be getting off soon too. So it was good timing to finish this. But this is this is exporting. Once it's exported as a WAV file, I didn't say that. So I export mine as a WAV file. I will upload this directly into Buzzsprout and into otter.ai. That's where I do my transcripts. And then I'll finish all the other editing stuff later. Like I say editing, but the publishing process of creating the show notes and doing the transcripts and all the extra things. But yeah, episode for next Tuesday. Done. Donezo. Completed. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. And at the end of the day, what is it all about? It's all about having fun. It's all about making sure that the process isn't overwhelming. You don't have a lot of friction in your workflow, and you got to have fun. You really do. You got to make it fun. You got to make it about something bigger than yourself. And if it's not fun, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? That's the perfect way to end this live stream today. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.